Topic of today's talk is how to overcome any objection. Why is that important? Well, it's pretty important to know how to overcome different customer objections, because there are various things that stop customers going ahead and ordering from you. If your conversion rate's 50%, then that means you're missing 50%. 50% are buying elsewhere. Why is that? Can we find out before we leave them what that is, and can we deal with it in advance? And I'm not talking about pressure selling techniques or anything of that nature. What is a definition? Well, what's the definition of an objection? I looked up online, and it said an objection is an expression or feeling of disapproval or opposition, a reason for disagreeing. My definition is a little bit different. My definition is an objection is a genuine or fabricated customer dissatisfaction that is likely to prevent them from ordering if not resolved. Objections can be expressed, implied, or hidden. So what I mean by that is expressed, implied, or hidden. They can actually express it and just say, "You're having a laugh, aren't you? I'm not paying that much for a door." It can be hidden, where they're thinking, "Okay, then, can you send that in writing, please?" "You got no chance, mate." And they're not telling you that. Or you can just tell by the look on their face that they're not happy about something. The first step of 4, so I'm going to give you 4 steps. There are 4 things you need to do in order to overcome any objection. By the way, in the 20 years I've been teaching how 80% of my customers buy from me, I've only come across 5 other 80% converters, and that's out of thousands and thousands of salespeople I've worked with. All of them overcome all objections in advance, or they're absolutely equipped to deal with it. I mean, the customers are totally satisfied with everything they say and totally satisfied with the answers they give. So that's a big tall order to live up to, isn't it? So I've set myself up here now. If I don't deliver in the next few slides, in the next 15 minutes. So what are the possible objections? Well, of course, how much is one? I do an exercise when I do an open seminar whereby we'll list all objections, anything that stops you getting a sale. And we generally come up with the same 13 or 14 common objections from customers. And most of them are coming up on the board now, on the screen as we speak. Zig Ziglar, the American sales trainer, says there's only 5 reasons people won't buy from you. No need, no hurry, no money, no trust, and no desire. When I was in my early 20s, when I first started selling in the 1980s, if I didn't get an order, I would think, which one of them was it? They did have a need. They seemed to love the window and the product. They seemed to have the money, and so on. So, knowing what they are, we can deal with them in advance, basically. Decide which objections to answer in advance, which to trigger, and which to deal with as they arise. So, for example, one of the reasons that people don't buy is no hurry. So we've all been there to say, "Oh yeah, we'd like a price for a conservatory, please. There's no hurry, might be this year, might be next year, just, when we get round to it." So we've all had that type of customer. Yes, I can see some heads nodding. The way I get now, I deal with this one in advance. So on my fact find form that I use a fact find form so that I don't miss anything out. One of the questions is, once you decide on what you're happy with, is this something you hope to do this year, or will it be next year? Predictable response is, "Oh no, it'll be this year sometime." And then I ask, are you in a hurry, or could you be a bit flexible and wait a little bit longer if it meant saving a bit of money? And let us tell you when we want to fit. "Oh yes, if it means saving a bit of money, we could do that." So I do a thing called a Flexi Fit system, which is only a small discount. It's not sign now, have some discount or anything like that. 99% of customers say, no, we'd be willing, anytime this year. We don't mind waiting an extra month or 2. So we would wait until July if, we're happy with everything. Great, I'll make a note of that, tick. So that's what I mean by answering an objection in advance. Yeah. On here, I've actually wrote at the bottom of the form, the back of the house is the priority, but would do the front if they can afford it. In the front, they're happy to wait an extra few weeks if they get a little bit of discount on the upgrades. Little tip, it's a digression, but I only give discount on the upgrades, so they're not. So in other words, they're only paying a little bit more for good quality and upgrades than they would for standard. So their perception at this stage is, okay, how much more do I have to pay? And I wonder what the upgrades are. It's not a case of, do you want to have some discount? Because now they're thinking, well, we were thinking that, let's hope it's less, you see. So it's still a price conditioning process. Another objection to potentially answer in advance is this one. You probably can't see it there, but he's had a price off budget and Scarpa for 550 quid for the back door. So that's predictable, isn't it? You go out there quoting for doors, as you know, quite often there's somebody is going to be quoting as low as that. Or if they're not, it might be their price perception. So this I would like to answer in advance as well. So how do you answer in advance? Well, when you're talking to them about why they want the door, well, it needs changing. It's cold and drafty. The fact find form brings up security is important. They want to further improve the heat retention and further reduce cold zones because it's quite cold next to the back door is what comes up in the fact find. So because of that, then we've gone on to show them, I have a door sample which is about that big. It's just the outer frame, the sash, it's hinged together and it's got the locking mechanism. And it's steel reinforced, very heavy. So I call it the beast. So I'm saying, okay, if security is important, then obviously you need to be looking at what we call a heavy-duty, high-gloss back door rather than a standard PVC back door. I'll show you what I mean. Show them the beast, let them feel the weight. We'll have picked the glass. Rather than normal glass, we need to be looking at a low-iron glass on the outside, which is clear instead of green. Lets more heat in. It'll warm up the soft coat on the inside. So the inner pane, this is true, will be warm to touch in the winter, even on a cloudy day. It's one variation of aerated glass, but it's a variation they need because they said it's cold next to the door. Other options actually let heat out and let heat in. They don't want heat coming in, they want a warm inner pane. So I call it a warm pane unit on my fact find. It's a little bit more money, obviously, but I'll quote you both ways and you can see if you want to pay it. Obviously, you need to go for an upgraded locking system. You're staying here long term, so you need to go for a high gloss frame instead of a standard gloss. Medium gloss would be fine, but not a standard PVC frame. I show them how the dirt doesn't engrain in as quick and how they look nice and new in 10 years' time, and you should only use soapy water, never use cream cleaner, because it takes the surface off. So we've done all of that, and they're thinking, whoa, this is good, this is going to be expensive. So when the objection does come up, budget and Scarpa quoted 550 quid, there's a bit of work already being done. So that's what I mean by answering objections in advance. Triggering an objection, let's say that they've been going along with everything happily. On my system, I like to discuss price alternatives, so I'll put a couple of different price alternatives and then say, look, I don't want to send the quote to you unless it's right and right for you. A lot of my customers go ahead there and then, by the way, but at this stage we're talking about I don't want to send the quote unless it's right for you. So I'll run through the price alternatives, as you can see on the form. I'll say, do you want to leave this in? Do you want to leave that out? And it triggers the objection if there is one. Oh, what do you think? Yeah, I think we'll just leave that full lock and strip in rather than that split keep one. I want the better one. Should we pay the extra 80 quid and have the low iron self-warming glass as well? Yeah, we'll just pay the extra. Or they might say, you're having a laugh. No, you're talking about 800 quid. We've already been quoted 600. So while discussing it, it would trigger that particular concern that the customer has. You get that? Another objection might be, this is where we're going to overcome it if and when. So they might say, hey, we're absolutely happy with everything. We'd love to buy from you, but common sense says we should get another couple of quotes. You ever had that? Yeah, all nodding. So, which is fine. You can say, well, no problem at all. But let me show you the cheapest way you can do it, is what I say to customers. So I'm prepared for this, so I'll deal with it there and then. And the way that I would particularly do that is I would show them I keep the local DIY store catalogues with me. So I've got Wickes price list for doors, I've got B&Q price list for PVC doors, got more. And they're actually quite expensive if they're made to measure, if you have a look. And then by the time they get them fitted, you stick your certificate on, I'm saying, look, you could save about 30 quid there. If we were doing a door like that, though, we'd be about 200 quid cheaper. I don't know why they're so expensive, but that's not for you. You're staying here the rest of your lives. Security's important to you. You want self-warming glass. You need to be going for the beast, and then we're back on track again. Yeah, and just explain that to them quite often to say, do you know what? We're happy with you. We'll just have it. Don't bother sending the quote. We'll just go ahead if we can. You see what I mean? So we're answering that when it arises. There's my actual Wickes price list. It even says made to measure windows, standard PVC, not heavy duty high gloss, not super duper glass and locks, standard. And it's still expensive. Okay, step 3 or 4. Acquire anecdotes, samples, and evidence to overcome each of the objections that you've written down. Give you an example. Sometimes, have you ever had it where they say to you, we've seen them advertised in the paper for a door for 600 quid or whatever? So one bit of evidence that I use, I just went online and you find these undercover checks. So Trading Standards very often pull these companies in and go and do mystery shopping. And in this article, I actually quoted the real prices they were charging. So I just show customers that and say, it's terrible, isn't it? I says, even that's expensive for what it is. They should be charging less. If we were doing that, we'd be charging a lot less than that. We don't do that, but if we were, we'd be less. So that's it. They're not going to see those quotes anymore. It's just being prepared, isn't it? An anecdote is story. So quite often customers will say, look, we're getting a few quotes, but we've got a friend in the business who we're going to get a quote from. You ever had that one? I can see you're laughing and nodding again. So these are common objections, aren't they? So I have an anecdote, which is true. Has anyone here ever sold to a customer who was actually in the business? They're a joiner and they say, oh, I fit these. I've fitted plenty of them. Yeah. So I say we get customers who are in the business and they come with us because they can't buy this quality in and they don't want the hassle of taking a day off work to fit it. And by the time we do it and they take a day off work, they wouldn't be saving much money. Also, if you're going to deal with a family member who's in the business, what happens in 5 years' time when the sealed unit goes and you've got a problem with it? You can say, Uncle Bob, you better get your bot here and fix this now. It's the quickest way to fall out with family. So that's why customers who are in the business, they've got family in the business, and especially on the Flexi Fit, you're getting the top spec, the beast, the thermal, all that for 150 quid more than the standard door. It's a no-brainer. Now, why are you there in the first place anyway? If you see what I mean. They're not that loyal, are they? And they go ahead with that. They just need you to take them through the process. The last step is to master the horse walk. I've shown this to many people over the years, and it's changed fortunes and lives. Basically, if a customer says, I don't want to proceed because, or it's too much money or whatever, you can't just give them a one-liner or show them something, and they go, no, all right, then we'll go ahead. It's a bit like a horse. It won't go into the gate. You can't just whisper in its ear or kick it up the bum. You've got to take it on a walk all the way around, show it some different scenery, and then come back again. Do you want to go ahead now? Or does that satisfy the question? Are you happy for me to send the quote? Whichever way you're doing it, yeah? So I call it the horse walk. Now, the horse walk has 4 steps to it. The first step is what I call an attention grabber or a turnaround statement. So the customer says, you're having a laugh, aren't you? We've been quoted 550 quid for the back door, and you're talking about 820 quid or whatever. So that's the objection. That's what's going to stop them going ahead. First step, you've got to take the power back and get back in control of this without a nanosecond of hesitation. So that's what I mean by a turnaround statement. So I'd say to the customer, but that's the beauty about the Flexi Fit. It's only 250 quid more for the top of the range, heavy duty 13.5 stone back door, not a lightweight plastic door, 13.5 stone, extra couple hundred quid, whereas normally it'd be an extra 400 quid. Total confidence, total control back, and they go, all right. And then we go straight onto the next step without missing a heartbeat. You give them compelling counter arguments. are you telling me that Bodgett and Scarp has quoted 550 quid for that door? Yeah, absolutely. Look at my price list. 450 quid, it's 100 quid too much. But that kind of spec, the lightweight plastic doors with standard lock and standard glass, isn't for you. Did you not mention you were staying here the rest of your lives? Well, he didn't ask. In fact, he didn't ask about the security or anything. He was only at 10 minutes. So we give counter-arguments. We might show them again the samples we've shown them. We show them the security spec. So we're giving them 2 or 3 reasons why they should pay that extra couple hundred quid. Then I like to finish with a confirmation question. So, I mean, you are definitely, security is the main reason you're changing the store, isn't it? And you are staying here. You're going to be here in 10 years' time when the guarantee runs out. Or, yes, definitely. And then I just follow through. Well, look, in that case, I would recommend you just pay the extra couple hundred quid. And then I just move on to whatever the next stage is. And if it comes back and they bring it up again, I haven't answered it. If they don't bring it up again, which mostly they don't, then they're happy with that. They just want the explanation. Sometimes it's not even a real objection. They're just saying it to try and get your price down. So that's what I call the horse walk. So for every possible objection, you've got the answers. So let's do it for real. Customer says, Bodgett and Scarp are only 550 quid. Turnaround statement. How much? That seems expensive for a standard door. There should be about 450 quid, not 550. It's 100 quid too much. I say it's not that he's ripping you off. It's just that obviously small companies have to make a lot more money on fewer jobs, if you see what I mean. They have to make a bigger margin. Whereas we do a lot of jobs, we make a little bit of margin. But anyway, Bodgett's door is not for you from what you've told me. What you need is, and then I remind them of what I've already showed them. In fact, let me show you my price breakdown. So this is prepared in advance. Basically, so I'll have already written this down on my pricing sheet. Budget door 450, standard door 850, top spec 1154, and then the extra heavy duty frame, £11 linear metre, 12 linear metres, 134 quid. Laminated self-warming glass, extra 76 quid. Full steel locking system instead of split keeps, 42 quid. Pencil hinges, heavy duty to take the weight of the heavy duty door, 14 quid. Anti-drill locks, 38 quid. Add that onto an 850 standard door, comes to 1154. On the Flexi Fit, they get 70% off the upgrades, so they only pay an extra £91.20 on top of the 850. Are you happy paying the 91 quid? If not, I won't put it in the quote. What do you want me to quote you for? Oh, but what do you think? Do you know, if we're going to stay like Paul says, you know, we should pay the extra. And so that is effectively answering their concerns. And then I would finish off with, the beauty about it is, in 10 years' time, if you go for this door, when you're retired, it's still going to be brand new for you. The high gloss, the dirt's not going to have ingrained into it. You're not having to think about getting another door. And in all those 10 years, it's been nice and warm and it's kept the burglars out. That's why I think you should pay the money. And then I'll ask me final confirmation. I mean, you're definitely staying here long term, aren't you? Oh, yes, like we told you earlier, Paul, because I asked and I ticked it off my list. Then we're not moving. Well, it's up to you. If you're happy paying the extra, I'm more than happy to send that quote to you. Well, I think we'll just give you the order now, actually. Or if they are making nice, favourable sounds, you know, quite often saying, I think we'll just pay the extra money. Do you think? I say, well, look, it seems to me that you're happy to go ahead. I'm more than happy to do the paperwork for you and get the surveyor booked to save messing about. Or do you want me to send the quote and just get back to us when you're ready? I'm happy either way. Most of my customers say, no, Paul, we're happy. We'll just do it. You've answered everything. Or you can send them the quote and then they'll come back because you've answered everything, whichever way you do it. If all else fails, take product out. Very often I come across jobs, it's a full house, and they're saying, look, it's just an extra couple of thousand quid, more than one to pay or whatever. I say, well, look, let's keep the quality and let's just do the front. And what's the priorities? So that's why in the fact find I ask what their priorities are and what they would leave out if it was all a bit too much. And very often I'll take product out. I'm not into, well, let's get the price down. It's, well, let's take stuff out. And that works a treat. I didn't discover that till about 3 years into my selling. Amazingly, it just never occurred to us. I was on a job recently. They said, we want to do it next year. Vertical sliding windows, 5 windows. This is why next year, because we're going to save up the money. No problem. Went through the whole thing. I says, can I just ask you, could you afford one window now? Yeah, we could probably afford 2. Okay, what are the priorities? That, and that. So they've got 2 now and wait for the rest next year. It's just common sense, isn't it? But it's dealing with stuff in advance. It's all predictable. Have you seen the film Groundhog Day? Watch it. About predictability. So that's me on overcoming objections.